Welcome to the Housing Provider Show, ladies and gentlemen. This is the show if you are a housing provider and want to be the most efficient, most profitable, best housing provider that you can be. This is the show for you. I'm your host, Tim Harstead, and as always, joined by Dave Bovin. How you doing, Dave?
Doing great today, Tim. How are you doing?
Doing good, man. We're recording this in November, but I know we're releasing it in December, and I know myself, so I already know the answer. I'm probably, when this releases, frantically Christmas shopping to get all the gifts. Are you one of the guys that gets everything done by Black Friday, or are you late into December as well?
I wish that I was, but I am not. I'm going to take this podcast recording as a sign that I should get on Amazon and make a wish list.
There you go.
Start getting stuff going for my daughter this month.
There you go. It's a good sign. When do you guys start decorating for the holidays?
It's already begun.
Yep. I saw the TikTok, and if I would have recorded my house, it would have been true. We could have just posted it, but I feel like we came in from trick or treating, and my wife started putting away things and pulling out the Christmas decorations.
Oh, yeah.
So
absolutely. I feel like that Christmas was on sale before Halloween.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's things, and I mean, again, we're recording this way in advance of when this is being released in December, but we're talking about. I feel like pumpkin spices now comes out in July or June. And Christmas decorations are being sold come September. Like football season starts and you're already seeing Christmas stuff, which is crazy.
I officially switched from my pumpkin in my coffee this morning to peppermint. So now it's officially Christmas time for me.
I've been doing at Starbucks I've been on a health kick lately, and I've been doing the protein coffee.
I tried it with the foam, protein foam. I like it.
It's not bad. It's not. As with most things that say protein, it's not technically a great source of protein, but it's a heck of a lot better than the normal Starbucks coffee where you're doing 300 calories with no protein. So right. It's good to get the 20 grams for 300 calories, even though it's not a health food.
Bacon and eggs every morning.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. That's all good. All good protein. But man, it's starting to get cold already here, and it's got me thinking with the holidays and everything like that, travel. And I want to have this debate with you. Orlando, I'll just call it going to Orlando because I know you're more of a Universal Studios guy. My family's more of a Disney family. But what holiday's better over there, Halloween or Christmas?
Oh, man, that's tough. I mean, for me personally, I'm a Halloween guy.
Yeah.
Horror movies are everything for our family. So we love going to Universal for Halloween Horror Nights. But I have to admit that one of my favorite trips that we've done, we went in the time where they had Horror Nights, and then the next day it switched to Christmas because Horror Nights was over. So we went there one night, and it was Halloween. It was amazing and scary, and woke up, and it was Christmas. It was pretty cool.
Oh, wow. So they're like our wives. They get it. They knock it out right away.
Exactly.
So, yeah. I've been there for Christmas. We went for a conference in November, the Realtor Conference, and it was Christmas time, and everything's lit up beautifully. Everything... And the funny thing for us being in Chicago is it's still 70 down there, and just Christmas decorations everywhere is interesting to see.
It's weird.
But yeah, so now you got the parade, the Christmas parades, the light shows, things like that versus, haunted houses and Halloween. How did you took your 7-year-old this year or no for the Halloween one?
Yes, it was her first year. And she loved it. She ate it up.
Okay. Are most of the haunted houses okay for that age, or are they?
I would say no.
Okay, great.
My daughter is definitely mature for her age when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Nah.
But everybody's different. Every kid's different. If your kid can handle watching horror movies, they can handle a haunted house.
Yeah, fair enough.
If they're getting scared because they see the cover of the VHS, hanging on the wall in your house, then you probably should not take them.
Makes sense. Seeing Christmas is for everyone. No, I thought I would have had more of a debate from you, but no, Christmas time over there is a good time, and that's really what this show at the end of the day it's about. It's getting people to a financial position where they can have the life that they want. They can take their family on the things, at least for me, that I didn't grow up going to, and you see other families getting to have those vacations every year, things like that. My dad was a 9-to-5 bricklayer, 10 hours a day, et cetera, and never really had that much extra to really go on these extravagant vacations. So we went once as a kid, but a lot of families are, I have the ability to take my family on these vacations a lot more and enjoy them. And a lot of that is because of investing and because of what we're showing you how to do. It's not just about having the money, because the issue always comes down to you find a job, you're making more money than you ever have, but now you have no time to spend that money, or you don't have a job that's kicking ass financially and you don't have any money, but you have a lot of free time. And when you start to get into investing, it opens up this whole new world where eventually you get to a point where you can be free enough to take time off of work or do whatever to go on these awesome vacations, but also have the money to go on these awesome vacations. It sort of kills that kills that part that really hurts most people in most lives, because they're not set up. They're set up to where they have to be working 60 hours a week to really financially survive. And then what's the point of financially surviving or being extraordinary finances if you're not going to use them?
Right. And I always say the key to life is not just money, it's money and time.
Yeah.
That's everything.
And I think investing is one of the true ways that you get there. And that's what I want to talk about today. I think it flows into what we want to talk about. Real estate investing. A lot of people put way too much pressure on their cash flow. And I want to talk about the 5 different ways that you make money in real estate investing and how that should affect your decisions and how that should affect the ways that you go. I think we got very spoiled in 2019, 2020, 2021 with the market and with the interest rates being super low, that you were able to cash flow extraordinarily well compared to what historically the market would allow. And I think that has caused a lot of people to get into the game recently and think, oh, I'm failing. I'm not cash flowing. My life isn't changed overnight. And real estate really isn't an overnight game. And I want to stress that to people especially people that are getting into it. Real estate is a plan to not only make yourself wealthy in 10 years, but make sure that your family never has to worry about money again. And that is the power that real estate can have if you do it right. But if you're focused on the wrong things, and I know this may be controversial, but cash flow is going to be the first way that you make money, which is you pay all your bills, and how much money you have left over every month is your cash flow. That's the first one. It's 100% the smallest and should be the smallest part of what you take into account, especially early on, because here's the thing. If you're starting with 200 grand and you buy a property for 200 grand, your cash flow is going to be much higher because you have no mortgage. If you start with 20 grand and you buy a $200,000 home, you're going to have a mortgage and your cash flow is going to be barely anything.
Right.
So it's not a fair comparison for someone just starting out with little money to compare themselves to John over here who has, 200 grand that they got from, their family inheritance and bought a home with cash. So I think cash flow is A, it's not everything, but B, also too many people compare their investments to other people's investments based on cash flow. And it's not a fair comparison because they're not thinking about everything.
Right. And the cash flow is something that will increase, as you pay off that loan. Every year you're looking at it potentially growing and growing, which is not the case necessarily for other investments that you make.
Yeah. I mean, the key here is, right, when you buy a property, your mortgage is going to stay the same. Obviously, PMI is going to change a little bit with taxes and with insurance rates and things like that. But the actual amount you pay towards your mortgage stays the same. Over a 5-10 year period, the rent amounts are going to go up 5 to 10% a year. That means you're increasing cash flow. The more and more that you hold on to the same property without refinancing, without restarting that mortgage over, the more and more that your cash flow is going to keep increasing.
Right. No, that makes perfect sense.
And so I want to talk about the other ways that you make money when it comes to real estate. And these are the things that I think that are super important to think about, A, when you're buying a property, and then B, also when you're making that decision of like, man, should I get out of it already? Should I, we've talked about on other episodes, we've talked about people that get into real estate without having enough reserves and that have to leave early. There's other people that have the money, but they don't want to keep putting money into a property. They think a property isn't performing because the cash flow isn't what they expected, quote unquote. But I want to talk about the other ways. And the first one's going to be appreciation. And this is natural appreciation that I'm talking about. This means you buy a house, don't touch it for 5 years. It is going to increase in value every year just purely because of inflation. I bought my home in 2021 and it has already appreciated 100 grand. And that's just my primary home. We've painted some walls and stuff like that, but nothing more design, nothing like actually
Right.
flipping or nothing where we put a whole lot of money in it. My wife wanted to change the colors. We haven't done a whole lot of work in this home, and it's worth $100,000 more. We've had probably one of the biggest appreciation cycles these last 4 years that we're going to see. And I don't want you to think that that kind of appreciation, 10%, 15% is normal. But let me ask you this. Would you rather have your home appreciate 3% or your stocks appreciate 10%?
Home.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And here's why. When you buy a stock, let's say you buy a stock for $100, and let's keep the money even. You have $20,000. You buy $100,000 home, or you can buy $20,000 in stock. When that stock goes up 10%, you made 2 grand. I'm not saying that's bad.
Right.
You made 2 grand in a year for doing absolutely nothing. When your home goes up 3%, you made 3 grand, because even though you only put 20 grand in, your actual home is worth 100 grand. So now it's worth 103. You're making appreciation on the bank's money. And there's really not an investment besides real estate where you can make money on someone else's money. And it's almost a guarantee. Like, it is very hard to not appreciate in real estate. Now, going back to it, you buy something and you sell in a year and a half because you're not cash flowing the way you want it to, and you didn't have the reserves that we've talked about before. You're going to lose money because you have to pay closing costs and realtor fees and things like that. So that is a caveat there. But if you're holding on to something for 5, 10, 15 years, you're way past that amount of money, and you're making pure profit.
Right. And that's even if the cash flow is modest. The appreciation is still going up.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, really with cash flow nowadays, you should be looking to try to break even, especially with the interest rates being as high as they are, which in reality, they're not that high historically, but compared to, we got spoiled. And that's going to change things the way our mindset is. But I want to get everyone back to the mindset of, man, buy these buildings, play the monopoly strategy to get to a building that is 15, 20, 30 units, depending on how big you want to get. And then just hold it, until really, you're going to 401k or 401k, you're going to 1091 exchange your way into that building. And then the way you're not going to ever pay taxes is basically hold on to it and keep it in your family for the time that you pass away. Then your family will get the stepped up basis and you'll never have to pay taxes on it. Your increases are going to be, way better than most. And something that a lot of people don't think about. Let's say you pay off your mortgage, you can still go get rent money. You can go back to the bank and say, hey, and this is what people like Elon Musk do with their company, right?
Right.
Why he doesn't pay taxes? Because he doesn't actually make money. He borrows money against his stock, which is not taxable. Same thing that we can do. You can, you have a paid off building, you have a building with some equity in it. Instead of selling it, you can borrow money and live off that money and do things with it and then let the rent pay that back. You want to be smart with it, obviously, but there are ways to make that money back and to have money cycling in so you can live your life and keep doing your things and have the renters pay for everything. Even 50 years in, you can still, if you're not cash flowing enough, take a bigger loan out against the property to go do whatever you want to do, whether that's burr and buy another property or just live the life that you want to live in retirement. These are pure options because of appreciation and because of the next one I'm going to talk about. I'm going to jump around a little bit, but mortgage pay down.
Right. So it's really just about leveraging that appreciation.
Yeah, leverage the appreciation, and the cool thing is, and again, this is these two are sort of connected. That's why I'm jumping around here. When your tenants are paying you rent and you're paying off the mortgage, that's like a savings account that you have building up. Whether you sell the building or whether you take loans from it, you have this savings account that's building up that you can access, in your 60s, in your retirement, because you've put that work in. And on top of that, because of the mortgage, you're able to get that appreciation again on the money that the mortgage is covering as well. So again, just for math, simple math, 20 grand down, 25,000 down, depending on where you're at, for a $100,000 house, you are getting appreciation on the entire 100,000, not just the money that you put down, which is huge. And then on top of that, your cash flow isn't covering, you're not getting the full rent because you're paying your mortgage, yes, but that money is, besides the interest, is still your money.
Yeah.
Whether you
Exactly.
access it through a loan, whether you access it through, um, you know, refinancing at some point or selling the building, it's going to be your money eventually. And that money was purely paid for by your tenants, which is awesome. Real quick, I just want to take a break from what we're talking about. I want to tell everyone down below there's a link. Sign up for our newsletter if you're not on it. We're doing weekly newsletters with the news and stories, and we try to make it fun and try to make it entertaining for you that you can use to be a better property manager, a better asset manager, so that your property is as profitable and as stress-free as possible. Just like this podcast, except for once every 2 weeks. It's a very long form. These are short little snippets every week that we're sending out with tips and with the latest news. So that way, if Illinois or Chicago passes a new law, if there's something new that comes out that is awesome tool that we're using, we're going to promote it in there, tell you all about it. So make sure you sign up below.
One of my favorite parts of the weekly newsletter is just the stories.
Mhm.
I love to see the different things that happen in the lives of our managers
Yep.
at our company and see what's going on, and just to listen and to actually hear what's going on with people in real life, in real time, is a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's awesome. And some of the stories, I mean, we've talked about it at the office 100 times about putting it together a sitcom at some point. Like, The Office is funny. It's a great show. But to do property management and these shit that we deal with 300 tenants across the entire city of Chicago, we deal with the rich of the rich that are paying 5 or 6 grand a month for rent. And we deal with the people that are paying $600, $700 a month for rent. And they're very different types of people. They're very different problems that you deal with, that you talk to, that you experience. And the world's a beautiful place. And sometimes you just got to step back and laugh at it. And that's what we try to do with some of the stories. And we also try to put a little bit of a lesson in there for you as well. So yeah, that is, there's going to be a link down in the description. Make sure you're signing up for it when you get a chance, and get that news and get those stories. Have a little laugh with us. All right, time to go to the third one. Forced appreciation. Actually, this is the fourth one because we already talked about cash flow. So forced appreciation is when you actually just go and do a flip, whether you're holding on to it or you're keeping everything, however you're handling it. You can actually increase the value of your home by putting work into it. And just like when you flip, putting a $20,000 project in, if you pick the right project, is going to increase the value of your home 30 or 40,000. It's not one for one. So you're not spending money to get the same money back out of it. You're spending money to double that money or triple that money, depending on the project, when you make improvements to your home.
What would you say are some of the projects that, as a investor, if you have properties that you're leasing out, are the most lucrative for this kind of situation?
Yeah, so a couple of things. One is when you look at investing, especially bigger units, right, or bigger properties, meaning 5 or more units, 6 or more units, and you're looking commercially, the amount that you can get for rent is directly correlated to the value of the property. So anything that you can raise rent for. So here's a couple of examples of good ones. Increasing the bedroom count, especially in a home. If you can go in the basements for sales, you put a bedroom in a basement, it doesn't do anything.
Right.
For Section 8 housing, especially, if you put a basement in the basement that's in a legalized basement, you can increase your rent amount $400 or $500. Same thing for apartments. If there's a way to sort of turn a bedroom into 2 bedrooms, or you have a really big bedroom, you can turn it into 2 bedrooms. You can then increase the rent, which increases the value. The other ones are going to be the common, kitchen, bathroom upgrades, going from the plastic counters to granite or quartz.
Okay.
Your rent's going to go up higher. Doing things like major CapEx projects, fixing the roof, fixing replacing the furnaces, water heaters, things like that have an expiration date. If your roof needs to be replaced next year, the value of your home is going to be reduced by the amount of that roof. If you put a new roof on, now you have extra value in that home. So things like that are going to be big for force appreciation.
Is there anything that you have investors typically ask that you will commonly say, you know what, I don't think you should do that? Something that people tend to think will increase that value that really isn't worth it.
Yeah, there's a few. I mean, they're not necessarily huge projects. So actually, I'll take one huge project, and the rest are going to be smaller things. One, the big project is, and I know I also said this as the thing to do, right? Adding another bedroom. It only works if you have the space to do it. We've seen some owners come to us or potential clients come to us and they added a third bedroom into a 2-unit, but they took away the entire common space, basically. They took the living room away. And it's like, okay, well, now you have 3 bedrooms, which means you're going to have a family or 3 roommates, but there's absolutely nowhere for them to hang out or to do anything. It doesn't really work. You need to have a place for a TV room. You need to have a place where they can sit down and eat together. Otherwise, why would a family want to live there? You made it a studio with three rooms. It's going to be hard to find that tenant. So that's one. On the smaller side, I think we have a blog post about this. If we do, we can link it down below. If not, I probably need to write one. But things that I highly recommend you don't do. The number one is jacuzzi tubs. And actually, I just saw an article the other day where it's the number one home improvement that actually makes your home worth less is jacuzzi tubs. And same thing for rentals, because you are going to be spending so much money to fix them, so much money to try to clean them. And at the end of the day, no one really gives a shit. No tenant's like, oh, I want this.
They love it when they look at it, but they never use it.
Yeah, exactly. And then them not using it is actually the reason it breaks down. It gets dirty. It's not washed because no one's ever running the jets. And then it starts to leak and it's a whole thing. Number 2 would be a garbage disposal. Again, I've been doing this for 10 years. How long have you been doing it?
15.
15 years? Have you ever had a renter tell you, I need an apartment with a garbage disposal?
Never.
Now, I've been doing management for about a little bit less than I've been a realtor, but about the same amount of time.
It's always broken.
It is literally, if you have it in there, I guarantee you once or twice a year, I am sending a tech to go and try to reset it or go and try to fix it. So garbage disposal, jacuzzi tubs. And then the other one, things like ice makers, water dispensers in your fridge. You're really you're asking for a lot of trouble that is, leaks behind the walls and things like that are going to cost you money, because at the end of the day, when you're a homeowner, you care about your property and you're always watching for those things. Tenants, not to say that they're bad people, but they don't have that. They're not bought in. They don't care.
Right.
To be checking something in the basement if it's leaking.
Yeah. Well, it's no different than renting your car.
Mm-hmm.
How much are you trying to take care of your rental car when you're on vacation?
Yeah, you're not changing the oil on it. You're not doing those things, and those are things that need to be done in a fridge. Not to mention filters and things like that your tenants are going to annoyingly ask for, and you're going to have to fight with them and tell them it's their responsibility. Then they're not going to do it, and then again, it's going to clog up, cause a back thing, cause leaks. So that'd be the other thing I'd say not to add. Even though if you're selling a home flipping, that one is probably okay and worth it. You make a little money, but on a rental, it's not. Last one of the 5 is the tax savings. And there's a couple things here. One is you're going to save. There's 2 ways to do this. There's the not paying any taxes on the money that you make from real estate. And that is by depreciating. That's by writing off all your projects, writing off the 1/27th of the home every year, things like that. You can make sure that you're always breaking even or losing money every year on your rental property. And this is for anyone, whether you're a real estate professional, quote unquote, or not. You can write off things to make sure that you're not making a profit when it comes to Uncle Sam. Obviously, we still want some cash flow and stuff like that in real life, but we're going to write things off so Uncle Sam doesn't see that profit. The other side is if you are a real estate professional, which has, a bunch of IRS codes that you have to follow and figure out if you can become one. If you do become one and have it, now you can literally, if you're a real estate professional and your spouse has a W-2 job making $200,000, $300,000, you can figure out ways to write off enough in your real estate to also not have to pay taxes for your spouse's job. Like it is super powerful. And that's something that we could probably talk about on another episode more in depth and go through it. But then the third one is going to be the exchanging the property, not paying taxes. So when you buy a house and then you sell it and it appreciated for 20 grand, if you roll that into another investment property, you don't have to pay taxes on that 20 grand.
Exactly.
And a 1031 exchange is a great tool. And going back to what I spoke about a little earlier, you can literally 1031 exchange until the day you die, and then it will go to your kids. That basis will step up, and all those depreciations and stuff will wipe away, and you're never going to have to pay taxes on the money that you made. And if you're living the way that a lot of the millionaires and billionaires live, where you're just living off your rentals, and off of loaning yourself money from them, I mean, you're literally could be making 300 to 500, 600,000 or more a year, whether it's through loans or through properties and things like that, and not paying taxes on it, which means the average person with a W-2 that's making that kind of money, they're only taking home half of that, and you're taking home the whole thing. It's a huge difference.
Right. Now, what are some other deductions that you think might reward property owners?
So, I mean, it really depends on what you're doing. But if you're self-managing, like things that are outside the box are, do you have to drive to your properties all the time? And if so, are you writing off possibly your car, depending on what kind of car it is and how that operates in your family? B, gas to get there, things like that. Are you writing off any tools that you bought to keep everything fixed? Most people, I think, are smart enough. They know they got to write off anything that they spend. So if they pay a vendor to fix anything or whatever,
right,
they're writing that off. So I think most people know that, at least hopefully. And then your depreciation is the big one. So if you don't do an analysis to see how much you can bonus depreciate off your home, you're going to get the 1/27th of the value of the house. That doesn't include the land. It's just the value of the property itself that you're going to be able to write off. So even if you are making a little bit of a profit, a lot of times that can erase it when it comes to Uncle Sam. The other thing I want to tell you about, if you're a realtor listening, we're throwing an event in February to show you how to better work with investors and how to gain investors as clients. Obviously, being investors and working with investors all these years, I think it's a massive advantage being able to work with them, but you have to know how to do it. You have to know how to do it the right way. I think your biggest sale ever is an investor. My biggest sale ever has come from investors. And the great thing about them, you sell a house to a family that's not an investor, they might move in 5 years. They might never move again. An investor might buy 3 or 4 properties a year from you. So if you can,
especially if you do right by them.
Yep, exactly. If you get them the good ones. So we're going to be breaking down all the lingo for you. What is a cap rate? What is, DTI? What is the different loan types that they can get so that you can be an advisor to them? And then also break down how to get investors as clients and how to keep them as clients. So we're going to be breaking down a lot. If you haven't seen the invite from Dave for that yet, reach out to one of us, get your invite, get into this event in February. It's going to be great. It's going to be invaluable, and really hope to see you guys there.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun too. We're going to have a good time.
Yep, absolutely. Always have fun. All right, moving on to the next topic. We want to talk about some legal notice requirements. I'll let you, Dave, tell me sort of the requirement or the situation, and I'll tell you the legal requirement that must be given to the tenants in that situation, and we'll go from there.
All right, so getting to know our notice requirements. Specifically, I'm talking Chicago here. Rent increases. What kind of notice are we looking at for that, Tim?
Yeah, so rent increases, and it's going to be for non-renewals as well. I know that's going to be your next question, so I'm jumping you a little bit here, but it's the same answer, and I don't want to repeat it twice. But it really, in Chicago, comes down to how long they've been tenants of that in that property. So if they've been there for under 6 months, meaning you signed them up originally on a month-to-month lease or a 6-month lease for some reason, you have to give them 30-day notice. Once that 6-month mark hits, up until they've been there for 3 years, anytime you want to renew their lease, non-renew their lease, or give them a rent increase, you need to give them a 60-day notice. And if they've been there for more than 3 years, you now have to give them a 120-day notice that you're non-renewing or that you're increasing their rent for the next lease.
All right. How about notice for late fees? What kind of notice do we need to provide for that?
Yeah, so in Chicago, you don't have to really give a notice. If you have like an online ledger, et cetera, they should know that they have late fees coming, and they should see it on their ledger. The key here in Chicago is you cannot charge it until the fifth day or midnight on the fifth day. So really, technically the 6th of the month at 12:01 a.m. Is when they can be charged a late fee. And then also in Chicago, late fees, you can't just be willy-nilly and pick a late fee. You have to follow a formula. It is the first $1,000 of the rent is going to be, so actually, sorry, let me take that back. In Chicago, it's the first $500 of the rent. In Cook County, it's actually, so the suburbs, it's the first 1,000 for this formula is going to be a $10 late fee. And then you can charge 5% of the amount over that number. So in Chicago, $1,000 rent, you're going to do $10 for the first 500 and then 5% of the second 500. In Cook County, it would be a $10 late fee for a $1,000 rent. But if it's a $1,200 rent, you'd then be able to charge that 5% on the $200. So you'd be looking at $20 for Cook County. So, yeah.
All right, perfect. Now, how about entering the unit? And I know there's a few different reasons, and they probably all require different notices, but let's go over those.
Yeah, so it really comes down to whether it's an emergency or not. So if it's an emergency, meaning that there's water leaking from their unit or something like that, knock and call them. And if they're not home, you're able to go in to get the water shut off or to do whatever you have to do. If it's not an emergency, though, you have to give them 48 hours notice, telling that you're coming in. So if you have you have your mortgage guy coming to do an appraisal, make sure you tell them a full 2 days in advance. Same thing for vendors coming over. If they're coming over to fix something that's not an emergency, you want to work it out with them and have them pick the time, or you want to tell them, hey, we're going to be there in 48 hours.
All right. And then just to be clear, on the notice, we need to have the date, the time, and the reasoning for the entry, correct?
Yeah. So you want to let them know what's going on, what time you're going to be there. What's our next topic for this for today?
All right. Our next segment here is your landlord an asshole? So today we're going to talk about if a tenant tries to withhold rent over some kind of a minor maintenance issue.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you fill me in on some kind of situation that we've had in the past here, Tim?
So unfortunately, we have a lot of tenants that think they're attorneys and they want to come up to us and call and say, hey, you know what? We'll call them and say, hey, your rent is late. Your rent is due. We need it now. And they will go and break something and call it in and say, hey, my fridge is now broken, so I'm not paying my rent. Unfortunately, this is not how it works. And unfortunately, as a landlord, you understanding the rules and the laws and not being scared to speak back is great. Now, you obviously want to fix things. If they purposely broke it, you want to charge them for it. But if it is wear and tear, if it broke under normal use, you want to fix it. But the way that it works for a tenant to withhold rent is a couple of things. One, they have to pay the rent into a bank account that is paying interest just like we do with their security deposit. It has to be put there for us. Once we fix the issue, we'll be okay. Now, with that being said, they also have to give you a reasonable amount of time and a notice that, hey, if this is not fixed, we're going to withhold rent. All that stuff has to be done properly. And lastly, at 30 days, let's say you still don't fix it for 30 days, they need to either hire someone to fix it and spend the money and deduct that from the rent, or end their lease. If it's something that they're not willing to end their lease over, then they can't really hold back the money. So that's a big part that a lot of people don't understand is like, hey, yeah, if it's that bad, if you don't want to live here anymore because I'm not going to fix an issue for you, you're free to move out. But if you are still staying in the apartment, you need to pay your rent. Some of these tenants will, call, and the game that they try to play, and that is so infuriating as a housing provider when you get a bad tenant like this, is ring, ring. Hey, this is broke. Okay, we'll send someone tomorrow. Oh, I'm not home. Okay. Well, then what days are you free? Well, no, I don't want to let you into my house. Huh?
How am I supposed to fix that?
Yeah. We had a tenant that Now, and this is why documentation is so important. We had a tenant that we were charging late fees to, that that we're about to be under the eviction process. We started with a 5-day, things like that. She wanted things fixed, and she would write it up every time rent was due and she didn't have it. She'd write up things and say things were going wrong, and we try to send someone. She wouldn't. The closest we got, our person came. We got a tech to go. They went in there, they started working, and then she kicked them out because they weren't doing it the way that she wanted them to do it. She wanted the entire bathroom. He went to go and fix whatever hole she was saying was an issue, and I don't remember the exact story, but basically, he went to go and paint the part where she put the hole and patch it, and she wanted the whole bathroom painted, and we said no, so she kicked the tech out. The key here, though, is to make sure you're documenting everything. And make sure that if you have 10 tenants, that you treat all of them the same and that you have procedures for it. Because here's what else this tenant tried to do is she then called the city, because Chicago and the state of Illinois have a no retaliation law, meaning that you cannot evict a tenant because they called the city. Well, this tenant was already getting evicted, and then she called the city to get building violations put on, and then tried to claim retaliation. The thing that saves us is we have the documentation that you called the city after we served you 5-day notice for not paying rent. Therefore, what you did was retaliation against us,
exactly.
Not the other way around. And that saved our landlord, made sure that everything was in compliance and took care of everything. But yeah, unfortunately, these tenants are going to try everything, and knowing the actual law, saying, hey, prove it to me. Show me that it's in a bank account then. Oh, no, I didn't actually, I went and spent that money. Well, then that's not a thing. You can't just withhold the rent and then go spend it. You got to hold on to it in an account, or you have to pay for the work to be done, or you can end your lease. If it's something that is that big of a problem, you can end your lease and move out.
Now, one question that I have as a landlord, if a tenant comes to me, they haven't told me that there's an issue, but they say, hey, this happened. I paid this guy to fix it. I want it taken out of my rent.
Yeah, so they can't do that. So they have to report it to you. They have to give you 30 days notice that they're going to fix the issue. The only exception to the 30 days is when it comes to heat in Chicago. You have to have heat there. You can't go, more than a day. You can't really go an entire day in the winter without heat. You have to have someone there. You have to have portable heaters or some kind of solution for them right away. But beyond heat, you have a reasonable amount of time to fix something. So obviously if there's water pouring in or busted pipe, things like that, you want to fix it ASAP. But if it's something like, hey, the refrigerator ice maker is broken again, or the garbage disposal is broken again, and you can't get a repair guy there for a day or two, they have to wait. They have to understand that, hey, my repair guy is on a schedule. And frankly, for my home, sometimes it takes a day or two to get the person here, and that's normal. So the tenants have to understand and live with that. It's also why we recommend that they get renter's insurance for things that, hey, this caused damage, or the fridge went out and now my food's spoiled. Things like that, that if they have their own renter's insurance or things like that, they can cover it. It's good for them to have. So,
absolutely. And that's something that we recommend every time.
Yeah, we tell them to. We don't force them to, because frankly, we don't there's some legal issues there, and we don't really know how that's going to play out eventually. But also, at the end of the day, it doesn't cover us at all the way that a lot of landlords think it does. And that's something we could talk about, another day, et cetera. But yeah, so that's sort of where we're at with it. But I want to thank everyone again for listening. I hope that if you got this far with us today, that you have subscribed to our channel, whether it's on Spotify or YouTube, that you've liked, that you can comment. Guys, ask some questions in the comments for us. We'd love to have your questions to be able to answer them on a future episode, or just there in the comments. If it's a short answer, I'm sure we can answer you there. And again, if you're a realtor, be on the lookout for the class that we're putting on in February. If you're an investor, click the link below and get on our weekly newsletter. Some of the information that we're sending out is invaluable. And, we tape this a few weeks in advance to have time to edit it and stuff like that. We can't get out news that you need yesterday on this podcast because we're taping it so far in advance. So this is a good way where if something is happening, if there's a call to action, we need to call our senators, et cetera, we're going to send that out there, and you guys can stay informed.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time today, Tim. And thank you guys for listening.